This is the police department. You're violating the state-imposed curfew.
Police in riot gear firing smoke and tear gas as protesters defy a state-imposed curfew. The latest on the state of emergency in Ferguson, Missouri. That's coming up. And 5 people, including 2 children, are hurt after a stairway collapses at a Brookhaven apartment complex. We are checking on their conditions for you this morning. Good morning on this Sunday. Glad you're up with us at this early hour. I'm Melissa Long.
And I'm Allison Chinchar. A little foggy in some spots this morning, but otherwise a nice day. The thing you're probably noticing,
humid.
It looks great, but man, it is humid.
It is.
Yes, that humidity has certainly gone up much higher than we've seen the last couple of days. That in turn is what's causing some of the fog out there, but nobody is really bad. We don't have any rough spots out there, just a little bit of that light haze and light fog to deal with this morning. In terms of the radar, we're keeping an eye on some showers and thunderstorms. You see that line forming just west of Nashville. That's what could bring us the chance for at least a few pop-up showers and thunderstorms later on this afternoon. So we will have that timeline for you coming up in just a few minutes.
Thank you very much. We begin this morning with more of the violence in Ferguson, Missouri. Police firing smoke and tear gas into a crowd of about 150 people who refused to follow the state-ordered curfew. The governor, Jay Nixon, set the curfew in order to prevent mayhem after the shooting of an unarmed black teen by police sparked a week-long protests. 7 people were arrested. There are reports of a shooting. Captain Johnson says the priority was to maintain the safety of officers and the safety of the public.
We have a shooting victim that's in critical condition that may lose their life. We had a subject standing in the middle of the road with a handgun. We had a police car shot at tonight. And yes, I think that was a proper response.
Protesters have been calling for an indictment against Ferguson police officer Darren Wilson following the shooting death of 18-year-old Michael Brown 1 week ago. Later today, Martin Luther King III will be in Ferguson to speak at a church rally. He was in our studios talking about the Michael Brown shooting just days ago and describing what his father would say to the people of Ferguson.
He would certainly caution and encourage calm, although perhaps he would say that violence is the language of the unheard.
Yeah, many people say that, and they say it almost in the context of an excuse for showing violence because their voice is not heard.
That is certainly not an excuse, but intellectually, maybe one can sort of understand the frustration.
The director of public safety for DeKalb County, that's Dr. Cedric Alexander, is on the ground there in Ferguson trying to help to calm the violence. Also, 11Alive's Blaine Alexander is there with the details on how he spent his day.
We know him as the head of DeKalb County's public safety department, but this weekend, Dr. Cedric Alexander is playing the much-needed role of mediator here in Ferguson, trying to bridge the ever-growing gap between the community and its police department.
They were very welcoming to me and very respectful to some of the things I shared with them. And I tell you, I just met these gentlemen, but it's almost like I've been knowing them for a long time. But I think that speaks more to the fact that we have to trust each other.
That was Dr. Alexander after the meeting. Our cameras were not allowed inside, but we did shoot this video of the 2 men afterward. Now, Alexander told me this meeting was requested by Chief Jackson himself. He said he recognized that the department needed help connecting with the community, so he reached out to get that help. After the meeting, we're told they had 2 very specific recommendations going forward.
More training, specifically how to appropriately deal with people of different race, colors, specifically African-American men and African-Americans in general. We believe that there should be training within our community, within the African-American community, on how to appropriately deal with law enforcement officials.
Now, as the head of Noble, Alexander is the one who's actually in charge of making sure those recommendations actually occur. He told me that in the coming weeks, he's going to be sending trainers out here to Ferguson to work with members of the police department to actually do that training. Now, just being out here for the past few days, I've spoken with people who live here, who've lived here for years. They say they're not protesting, they're not looting. They just want things to get back to normal here in their town. And the chief and those in that meeting say that hopefully those meetings and the recommendations are the beginning of that happening. Reporting in Ferguson, Blaine Alexander, 11Alive News.
And as the news develops in Ferguson, we'll have it for you online and on the 11Alive News app. Again, the 11Alive News app and 11alive.com. A child is recovering after he was pinned underneath a concrete deck that collapsed in Brookhaven. 5 people were sent to the hospital and authorities are now investigating what happened. 11Alive's Ryan Kruger's on the story, who joins us live from Brookhaven with more. Good morning, Ryan.
Yeah, good morning, Melissa. It was a very scary situation here overnight from listening to residents talk about it here at the terrace at Brookhaven Apartments. Let's show you exactly what we're talking about here. So this deck, this was actually the landing basically between the first and second floor. The floor of the landing is made of concrete. The actual structure is made of wrought iron. You see it fell apart from the building here. It's not clear how that happened. Investigators are still trying to figure out exactly what caused that to happen. We're told there were about 6 to 10 people that were on the deck at the time. Residents here are telling us they were barbecuing when it collapsed. They all fell to the ground. 5 people were taken to the hospital, 2 adults, 3 children, most of them with moderate injuries, but we are told that one child had serious injuries. He was pinned underneath the concrete. Now, we talked to a young witness overnight. We want to warn you before we play his sound. He goes into very graphic detail about what happened to that child, but we did want you to hear it, so take a listen.
Everything just fell down, and the kid it fell on top of him, and it opened his bones. Everything showed in the skin,
So certainly a very serious injury that happened to that young boy. It's not clear his condition right at this time. However, we are told that some residents sprung into action, rescued that young boy. Hear from firefighters coming up in 30 minutes that are calling them heroes. But for now, we are live in Brookhaven. Ryan Kruger, 11Alive News.
Ryan, thank you very much. Something else investigators are working on today. They're trying to figure out who killed a taxi driver Friday night. This happened in Gwinnett County at the Spring Lake apartment complex on Chase Common Drive. Neighbors called police after finding the 36-year-old Afolabi Odifa slumped over his steering wheel of his taxi. Norcross police say he was in the car for hours. One woman, just too distraught to speak with us on camera, told us that the victim's wife had just given birth to a son 6 months ago. Police fear a missing Austell woman could be in danger this morning. The 73-year-old Linda Warner was last seen Friday night. Family members say she has health problems, and being gone for too long of a time period is just out of character for her. Investigators tracked her cell phone to Southwest Atlanta and noted that someone had been checking voicemail but not returning calls. Anyone with information is asked to please call 911.
He was just a great person, a great spirit.
After the break, family and friends remember a high school football player who collapsed after practice and later died.
Here's a look outside. 76 degrees in Atlanta, 77 in LaGrange. It's not the temperatures you're noticing, it's the humidity that's starting to build. We'll take a look at some possible rain chances for today coming up.
What it used to be, there's so much hatred, war and poverty. Oh.
10 after 9, Sunday morning, a show of solidarity from a Douglas County High School football team mourning the loss of a fellow player. A wake was held for the 17-year-old Zayrese Oliver. He was taken off life support last week. He had collapsed after experiencing muscle spasms and cramps after practice the week prior. Students say he had a big heart and made a big impact on everybody who knew him.
Zayrese was a very, very big-hearted spirit. He loved helping people out. He loved football. He had such a big passion for it. And he was very into his faith, and he would help anybody out.
Oliver's family says he drank 4 gallons of water and Gatorade and claimed that overhydration contributed to his death. The GBI is now conducting an autopsy. Congressman David Scott hosts a health fair in Jonesboro. It was an opportunity for people in the community to get free health screenings. Physicians from all different fields volunteered their time for the event at Mundy's Middle School. More than 5,000 people took advantage of the chance to see a doctor or visit with a nurse.
This is just great. It's truly a God-sent blessing. The outpouring. It's a total community effort. You see all of these physicians, the doctors, the nurses who are giving of their free time on this Saturday to come out and treat people and literally save lives.
This marked the 10th year that Scott has held that health fair. This year, mortgage assistance counseling was also available. The U.S. launching more airstrikes to combat a terrorist group in Iraq that is controlling that country's largest dam. That's coming up. And a surprise from Zoo Atlanta. They found that owl, the barn owl. It's an owl they never thought they'd see again.
Kingdom away.
Yeah.